Hey guys, welcome back to the Dice Matrix. Your old buddy ET here. In this particular segment, I'm actually doing a comic review and not a game review. Now, why am I doing that? Well, I'm doing this particular comic because it has to deal kind of with games. And as you read the title, it's about this one called Die. Okay, and Die doesn't refer to they want somebody to die, although who knows, that could be a subplot in there. And but with a die like in Dungeons and Dragons or any role-playing game like Starfinder or what have you, whatever you play. So this is a comic that was recommended to me by one of my friends because he knows that I grew up playing Dungeons and Dragons, which is a game. And there is spoilers, so if you don't want to know about what I thought about this or anything that I might say, then don't just read it yourself if you might be interested. But if not, if you don't mind spoilers, I'm going to tell you some parts in this and what I thought. So apparently, Die I think is put out in UK, Germany, or someplace. It has Gillen as the writer, Hans, which is a lady who does the art in it, and the art is fabulous. This is an alternate cover. I guess there's two covers I've seen so far. I don't know if they're based upon printings or whatnot. But anyway, just kind of show you some, some pictures here and there. I mean, I love the different looks that they have in the book here. And I don't want to ruin it for you, the whole thing, because I want you to experience it for yourself. This is put out by, I think, Image. But my comic shop, local comic shop, Infinite Mushroom, was able to get some copies in. I guess some places are hard. Is a hard find for them or whatnot. But anyway, in Die, it follows a story of basically a bunch of young people that they're having like two people share a birthday, and they go to a person's house. And when they go there, there's this guy who's the normal game master, and I believe his name is Solomon. I just finished reading this, so it's kind of fresh in my mind, but I may have mixed up some of the names with which character goes to which, because there's like six central characters as far as I can tell so far. What happens is they go over there, and he said he's either found or created this new game, and this one girl thinks she wants to play Cyberpunk, and you kind of have a good relationship. The writing's really good. It's actually very wordy compared to most comics, which I like because I love the art, but I also love a good story. And this is kind of, I think, an oversized issue because this is about twice as thick when you get this one as normal comics, and so you're going to get your money's worth when you pick this up. So anyway, when they go to this guy's house and kind of a birthday celebration, they decided, well, he's going to throw a game, and they're all wondering. One person wants to play Cyberpunk, and another person's thinking whatever, and he's like, no, I got this game, and it's unique. So he had them all create like their character, basically whatever they wanted to play, in their mind. And then he opened up the most important thing. He opened up this box, and it had a picture of your standard six kind of D&D dice or whatever gaming dice that you play with all the sides. But this brings up to one of my favorite things, and I'm going to call this favorite frame, which will be some panels or whatnot. And I'll flash it up here. As you can see, in this frame, it breaks down, starting left to right. Each person kind of describes their character, and then he hands them a die corresponding to what he feels that fits with that character, and they only get this one die. And like, I have no idea. Like I said, I've only read the first issue, so I have no idea what the external powers are or whatever the game. But he says you have the only die in this game, the D4, right? And then the next person describes their character. You have the only D8 in this, and he has all these cool names that he calls the people by their class or whatnot. Until eventually, in the end, he's just holding one himself. And then he says, this is for me, because he's the game master, and it's a D20. And like, oh, that's really cool. And like right off near the beginning, next thing you know, poof, it's like they disappear. Everybody in the group disappears. And then the book flash forward to 2 years later, and they find everybody but the game master, basically, just on the street wandering. They've been missing. They called them the whatever six or whatever that's been missing. And it's pretty entertaining because you're like, okay, well, we know they went off somewhere, and we know that they had some sort of adventure, whether it was for good or ill. One of the girls actually is missing a limb, and none of them have talked about it, and they didn't talk about it for years. And so you kind of fast forward to X amount of years later, where they're in their 40s, and they still don't talk about it until one day the 20-sided die shows up somewhere, on this date. And then they get the group back together, and they're just talking about it. And the next thing you know, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. The party's, teleported back to this world again at this age. And they think that there's a chance they can find their friend Saul, as they call him, I think, or Solomon, whoever it is, to try to get him back, because apparently something had happened to him and nobody wanted to talk about it. They didn't know if he was dead or alive. But I will have to say, it is one of the best first issues I've ever read. I mean, maybe just because it hits the vein of what I love to read, but I'm going to highly recommend it. I'm giving like a 9.5 out of 10. And I showed you my favorite frame, and I'm gonna tell you about each issue as I read them. So I actually got the next 2 in a row, but I'm trying to slow read them because I'm excited. But I know that if I read it, I'm done, right? I mean, I can always reread it. But anyway, that's my scoop on that. Thank you so much for watching this special edition of the Dice Matrix, which is covering comics about people who game in real life, in fantasy, in real life, in their fantasy, or fantasy. Well, whatever. Until next time, my friends, you keep your dice rolling.